there are so many people constantly looking for housing. That's when I learned firsthand. I was like, wow, okay, I'm not gonna have a problem finding someone. I really kind of got to, everyone applied at the same time, so I got to kind of just choose who I wanted. Through those messages, I messaged back everyone. You know, it doesn't feel good to be ghosted, especially when you're looking for a place to live. You know, some people wanted something that was furnished, some people wanted something unfurnished. Everyone was different. Some things just weren't a good fit, but the ones where it seemed like it could have been a good fit, I messaged them and said, hey, yeah, you can come check out the room. You better hurry up because there's a ton of other people that want to see it too, and I'm trying to fill it. So I had about 4 or 5 people come through to look at it, and it was all within a day or two, and then ultimately I just chose who I thought was gonna be the best fit. Both my roommates were like getting into their jobs, I guess, after college, and so it just felt like the right fit with both of them because they're kind of in the same parts of life that I would be in if I weren't a YouTuber and that a lot of my friends were in. And that's that. So I asked you guys to ask me questions. Do your roommates know that you're the landlord? So that is something I consider. I've gotten a lot of questions that are like, is it awkward being the landlord? I mean, naturally, it's a weird dynamic when you think about it. And it probably was sort of awkward at first, and I don't know how they feel. Maybe they do feel that way. I certainly hope they don't feel that way. But yeah, I thought about it first. Like, do I just like not say anything about me being the landlord? It only took me a couple minutes to realize, how would I get away with that? Like, oh, our landlord, and I'm just talking about myself. And I was like, what if they like one day are like, this house sucks? They're like, I don't like this, I don't like that. Like, that would be really awkward too if all of a sudden like, oh, well, I own it. But it was also weird for me to explain to them, yeah, I'm looking for roommates, like, I own it, I make YouTube videos, yeah, it's fine, you can look me up, whatever. It was like just as weird of a thing for me as it is for them, and it was like something that was very new for me and new for them, and so I feel like the feeling of the weirdness surrounding it is just mutual. Did you have a lawyer write the lease or did you do it? So I just Googled Washington lease contract. There's a website, it's like rocketlawyer.com, and it comes up with just the standard lease contract for Washington. I just filled it out. It was really easy and just sent it off for their signatures. I was really chill about it though. I was like, yeah, sure, a 12-month lease, but honestly, if you don't like living here, just give me like 30 days notice and you can leave. Someone asked, is it weird that they pay you to live there? I don't feel weird about it. Like, I pay to live here. Why wouldn't they also pay to live here? Everyone's got to pay to live somewhere. And someone else asked, do you feel weird asking for rent? No, definitely don't feel weird about it. I mean, it's just through Venmo. It's so easy these days, you know? You don't have to be like, hey, rent's coming up, can you write me a check? Does Oliver pay rent on time? Oliver, you're past due on your rent. You're like a year past due. You're so delinquent on your rent, Oliver. Is there a power imbalance? And that's an interesting question. I mean, I think naturally, yes, there kind of is. Like, I can decide whatever I want. I could decide that they need to leave if I wanted. You know what I mean? I could decide to sell the house. I could decide to add different furniture. I have that power that they don't have, but I would never do that. It's more so, I think, the only power imbalance I feel is I'm gonna make any decision on furniture and things like that, and they can do whatever they want with their rooms, but when it comes to decorating like the living spaces, I want to keep that power. I like having that. Other than that, I don't think so. Do you recommend renting a room out as a first-time home buyer? Yes, I love doing it. You literally, though, have to just go from, this is my home and I'm so excited about it, to like, this is an investment. Are there rules you have on bringing guests over? No, there are no rules. I like my roommates, so typically anyone they have over, like, I like them as well. I will say, it's funny kind of looking back now, but one of my roommates has a boyfriend. They just started seeing each other right when she moved in, and I think he like spent the night on like only her, like it might have been like her first night there, and that to me was weird because I was like, I don't even know her yet, and I don't know this guy, and they're both just in the house, and this is weird, and it totally made me feel uncomfortable in the moment. But now it's funny because I look back and I know her and she's great and her boyfriend's great. But yeah, there's like no rules over like, oh, can you have an overnight guest? Like, I mean, we're young women in our 20s. If my roommate wants to hook up with someone, like, she can do that and bring the guy home. You know what I mean? Like, if it were all the time, it'd probably get annoying, but we're all pretty tame people anyways, so it's fine. Would you be cool with any of them having a pet? Okay, that's an interesting question because I love animals, but I already have an animal here. And so it's hard because it's like they have to get along with my dog and he's already so territorial of the house. I think it would just have to be a case-by-case scenario. If I had a roommate that wanted to get a cat, I'd probably be like, no. But if I had a roommate that wanted to get a dog and it was like a small dog, I wouldn't be opposed. Honestly, I'd be kind of excited. But that also comes with like trusting my roommates. If it were a person I didn't know that long and they were like, can I get a dog? I'd be like, no, definitely not. Definitely that's a case-by-case kind of basis. I think most people would just say no because it's the simple and easy answer, but I'm somewhat open to it. Any tips on vetting tenants? Yes, so I did have one bad experience with a roommate that I didn't tell you guys about, and I don't want to go into too much detail. Besides, it was just the wrong fit. I have my two roommates, and I've had these two roommates since I've had my house, but one of my roommates, actually during COVID, she got an internship that was in Europe, and it was a really great internship to the point where they allowed her to go to Europe even during COVID. Really crazy, and I was totally happy for her. She was like, I need to leave for 6 months, and then maybe she would come back and move back in, or maybe she would go do her own thing. It was kind of up in the air, but that was fine. She was gonna leave her furniture, and I was like, yeah, maybe I'll just like rent it out furnished. So this was also around the time I just got the house in Palm Springs. Everything just kind of happened really quickly. That's such a lie. No, it didn't. I just didn't plan right. Buying the house in Palm Springs took forever, but I did not plan in advance. I was being lazy about it, okay? It's my own fault that this didn't work out well. I put out a posting, and again, I got a bunch of responses, but some people this time were being kind of flaky, but then I was being kind of flaky too. Like, someone would want to see it, and then they would flake and be like, actually, can I tomorrow? And I would have plans tomorrow and just didn't want to put in the effort. Then I went to Palm Springs and didn't have anyone downstairs and was like doing all these renovations, and I was like, this is getting expensive. I should probably have someone living downstairs. And I got a message from this girl who actually toured the room when I originally posted it, like the very first time, and I didn't pick her, but she seemed really nice. Then, you know, she's messaging me, I'm already in Palm Springs, she's needing a place to live. She was nice, she was down to Venmo me the deposit and everything right then and there. So I was like, sure, this will be fine, probably. I met her this one time, she seemed nice, this is gonna be alright. I'm like out of town anyways, so she pays me and she moves in, and I just like didn't vet her at all. I asked her what she did. She was a nanny, and really you should ask for pay stubs, you should ask for their ID, because I didn't do that. She had said she had gone to a community college, so I assumed she was like 23. I didn't even ask her how old she was. Like, I was just like, she seems nice, we'll get along, this will be fine. And in a lot of ways, she was like, on paper, your perfect roommate. He's the perfect roommate though, he's so perfect. She was super clean, she was really quiet, but she was just really young and like in a different place in life. So the first day she moved in, I actually was in town, and I was like, oh yeah, how old are you anyways? And she said she was 21, and that's when I was like, oh, we might have a problem here. I didn't say that out loud, but in my head I was like, this might be an issue. I think about myself when I was 21, and all I did was want to like party a bunch. I was not responsible at all at that time. She didn't do anything like totally wrong, but she said she was 21, and then I later found out she lied about her age and she was actually 20. And I think she might have like just turned 20, like she was just 19. I just didn't trust her. After I found out she lied about her age, I didn't trust her, and I felt really uneasy leaving the house because I guess there was like this time I was out of town, but I guess she had different guys over like every night from dating apps, and like guys she had just met, and she was like bringing them over and they were spending the night, and I wasn't in town for any of that. I just heard about it afterwards, but it definitely made me uncomfortable. She quickly did get a boyfriend, so that kind of stuff all stopped. If it would have kept going, I definitely would have said something like, no, you can't just have people over like this all the time too. Yeah, she got a boyfriend, and so it was kind of fine, but it also was like they would take over the kitchen, kind of doing their thing. Like they would like have date night in the living room, I feel like, and they would just sprawl out on the couch for hours, and no one else could really use the living room. It was just awkward. She was really nice, so it's fine, but I like literally by the end of it kind of like had to reserve the living room one night. Like I was like, hey, I'm having friends over, so I'm gonna use the living room, and that's when I started to feel like, so I'm gonna use my living room. Like it's just a little weird. I also, okay, I never really said this, but I feel like it was kind of just an unspoken thing. I decorated the living space, the common areas, and I don't really want other people's stuff encroaching in it. I made it like a neutral setting for everyone. So this girl, one day, she added a framed photo of her and her boyfriend and put it on the mantle in the living room. And that, I did not like that. That made me feel like, oh, is this their house? Is this couple getting married and I'm living in their house? It was just so weird to me, and so that's kind of like my rule. I just don't want, like, people's personal things really being in the living area like that. Like, we don't need to be having, like, family photos on the mantle, you know? It's just weird to me, you know? But it just wasn't the right fit at the end of the day. That's all. That's it. And I could sense that the first time she looked, and then I was just lazy the second time around. So basically, moral of the story, ask for their ID, a copy of their ID. Like, you need to see how old they are, because apparently they will lie. Also, do you ever regret this decision, or do you think it was a financially smart idea? I definitely don't regret this decision, and yes, it was a very financially smart idea. It's one of the smartest things that you can do. If you're gonna do it, you can't just be like, because it's the best financial decision. You have to also do what you like for your lifestyle as well, because you can buy somewhere and live in it yourself, and it's still gonna be a good financial decision. I think that's the bigger picture here, that I don't regret choosing to live with people, because that's something that I really like. This is definitely not for everyone. In fact, I don't really know many other people that do it, but you know, if you are in Seattle and you would like to buy a condo or a townhouse and get a roommate, I could definitely help you. I am a real estate help guide, and I'm for another.
Did you know that 1 quart of motor oil can pollute up to 250,000? Let God help you through this.
There's your past. And at the end of the day, I did not see a dime from it. It's kind of hard looking back, because I feel like this was such a waste of time. That's not how my life worked out at all, and I would not have it any other way. About a month ago, I uploaded a video that was all about how I've really found myself, and I'm the happiest that I've ever been. I discussed with you guys a lot of the personal changes that I made over a year that got me there, and those things were really important. But what I didn't tell you guys about was the mistakes that I made along the way in the beginning half of my 20s that have led me to where I am today. I guess I wouldn't even call them mistakes, but paths I tried to follow that were ultimately failed endeavors that in the moment felt like a total waste of time. But now looking back, I learned really valuable lessons from them, and if it weren't for each mistake that I made, maybe I wouldn't be, you know, like this happy now. Now, before I get into all the mistakes, I want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of today's video, which is Clearco. Clearco is the world's largest e-commerce investor. They have invested over $2 billion in 5,000 companies. What's different about Clearco is, for one thing...
Hello? No, thank you.
data-driven technology to identify growth funding opportunities. And what that means for you is it's really quick and easy to find out if you can get access to capital for your business. And secondly, it is equity-free capital, so you don't have to give new my life and as a store. USC, really drawn towards Chapman University, and it was a private school in Southern California. And like most kids, I thought the only path to success was if I went to one of these top colleges, got a great internship, and then moved on to work for one of these companies. That's not how my life worked out at all, and I would not have it any other way. I applied to Chapman University. I didn't get in, so I had to have a plan B, which then I looked up community colleges that had good film programs, and that's how I found the school Orange Coast College, which is where I went to school. Anyone could go there, and I think it was like on a Reddit forum I found that they just randomly had a really good little film program. I had no other plans, so I signed up and went there. The classes were great, the teachers really cared, and what was really interesting is it was just this different environment that I hadn't been in. All of a sudden, rather than people saying, you need to get a 4-year degree, the teachers actually were really pushing for people to not waste their money on getting a 4-year degree if you wanted to go into more of the arts. I really appreciated that experience, and this was back in 2014. So, you know, YouTube and Instagram, TikTok and all those things, it wasn't really as known still. People did not understand the concept of being an influencer and making money that way. But my sister and I at that time we were really growing our channels, and the teachers knew about it, and they were actually the ones that said, you should just keep doing this, keep doing YouTube. It is so much better than trying to make a movie or a television show or work at a production company. Like, you get to do any idea you want, whenever you want. You know, there's no rules, no one telling you no. Like, that's a really special thing.
Location, Ohio. Kindly press 1 to talk for Amazon Secure.
And to me, I always thought, oh, my YouTube channel, it's lame. It's me in my bedroom. What's so special about that? But to get this approval from these teachers that I looked up to, it completely pushed me in a different path. If it weren't for those teachers that pushed me and believed in me and what this whole thing was, I probably would have gone to a 4-year university and would be working for some company right now. I don't know if I'd like my life at all. So looking back on that, you do not need to go to some top school to be successful in life. Alright, so the second mistake was probably, honestly, the biggest mistake, but also the biggest thing that I learned from. That's usually how it goes, right? Little mistakes, you learn a little bit. Big mistakes, you learn a ton. And so, it's kind of hard looking back because I feel like this was such a waste of time, and it's a little bit of YouTube tea, honestly it is. But that is starting and joining a collab channel. So I don't know if any of you guys remember, it used to be popular for there to be collab channels. Me and some of my YouTube friends decided to create a collab channel, and the channel was called Just Like That. Some of you guys might remember it. We started this channel in 2014. I had my YouTube channel, and then I had the Just Like That channel, and I felt like the Just Like That channel had so much potential, like us, this group of people, that we had big plans for it. We were like, we're gonna get millions of subscribers, this is gonna be great, we're gonna create other Just Like That channels. It was all very,
Google Career Certificates provide online training on in-demand jobs. Training for jobs in IT support, project management, data analytics, user experience design, and more. Put your skills to work with a Google Career Certificate.
contrived. It was very, very contrived. Like, we weren't all actually that good of friends, the people on the channel. It was like me and Shelby, Meg DeAngelis, Nikki Philippi, Megan Hughes, Alex Weiss. We all kind of came together because Megan Hughes, Alex Weiss. We all kind of came together because we thought it would be, you know, like a good move. Like, we'd all help each other grow. I'm sure, like, those houses you see today, like, they are very contrived. But at the time, the collab channels that were doing the best were people that were actual friends, and they weren't even trying that hard with a lot of their content, but they were just real friends. It was all fun. It was like kind of fake. We kind of became friends, but we were just kind of like, okay, this is business. We're making it a company. We're gonna grow it. We're gonna make these videos on these days. Everyone's got their tasks, and it never really popped off the way I think any of us thought maybe it would. And in hindsight, that's just because it was so contrived. I think people can feel that. They can see through it when you're not really making the video for the passion of it. That's something I did start to learn. But the real problem with this was I had my singular YouTube channel for, at this point, like 4, maybe 5 years, and I was getting a little bit sick of it. And I was getting so excited about like this new channel, this new opportunity. And I was pouring all of my time into the collab channel versus my channel. Like, I just kind of pushed that one to the side and didn't have my priorities.
There's this website called Overemployed where it talks about how to have 2 jobs at once and get away with it, which I think is one of the most 4,000 IQ things I've looked at. Like 12 rules, don't talk about it, don't fall in love with your job. And then there's Fox News News, which basically tries to write about it as if it's bad to work 2 jobs at the same time. And obviously, it's not. You should always have a side hustle of some sort. Personally, I think if you can get away with working 2 jobs, then do it. What's wrong with that? I think if a company only wants you to work for them and them alone, you know, that is just showing you how much control they want over your life. And they'll use excuses like, well, it affects your ability to provide us 100% of your services that we pay for, or that it's, you know, unethical, or whatever. Just a bunch of silly reasons. They can't come up with a real one because there's no real reason you shouldn't be able to work 2 jobs at once if you are getting your work done and everyone is satisfied. So highlighted some stuff. They were bored or worried about layoffs or tired of working hard for a meager raise every year. They got another job. Now they have a secret. Work 2 full-time remote jobs. They can only one, and for the most part don't do too much work.
It's back to school. Are you finished your list for less ready? Day 1 and beyond ready? Every supply for every...
They're Amazon favorites because I have discovered so much stuff in the past couple of months, and it's been a little minute since I've spoken to you guys about some of my favorite Amazon finds. So I thought that now is as good time as any to get this off my chest because some of these products are actually life-changing. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we get started, friendly little disclaimer, links to everything down below. I'm going to link my Amazon shop where you can search more than just the products that I'm talking about in today's video. You can find all of my Amazon favorites, and I update it constantly. So whenever I am looking back through my orders, I'm like, oh yeah, that was a really great item, and I will go ahead and go back to the product page and add that to one of my categories on my Amazon shop. So it's always updating, it's constantly changing. Make sure you